Hi again from the garden. It's Christina from Sunshine and Flora. So it is the first week in October and we are scheduled to get a frost in a couple days. And so I thought this would be a really good time to do one last garden tour for you guys for the season. The garden is actually looking pretty good right now. There are some areas, including my zinnias and my dahlias, that are completely full of blooms. I actually have a couple of bouquets to make today, but I am afraid in a couple days that everything will be done for. Now, if you are new to my channel, I grow in zone 5A in Northwest Iowa. I grow on about 2,000 square feet is all, and I grow cut flowers that I sell at local farmers markets and by special order. This is officially just my second season growing cut flowers, and it has been absolutely amazing. In fact, I'll probably be filming a recap video for you guys really soon, so watch for that. But today I just wanted to give you one last tour for the season of the garden. So I'm standing right in the center area of the garden. You can see I have a little hobby greenhouse behind me. This is the Outsunny brand. It is a 6x10 greenhouse. I assembled this all by myself and I have a video to prove it. I have some nice tables on the inside. It's pretty much a mess right now, so I'm not going to give you a tour of that. It's also missing a couple panels, which I need to replace before fall if I'm going to be doing any winter projects in here. But this has been really great, especially in the spring when I want to get things outside a little sooner. This has been a really great addition to the garden. And I think for the whole tour, the pathway makes a circle around the garden, so we will just make that circle for the tour. So we'll just start right in front of the greenhouse here, and then this little area is my Rudbeckia patches. So I have 2 on each side. I will be having more Rudbeckia next year. I grew 4 different kinds in here. I have the Cherokee Sunset, Moroccan Sun, Prairie Sun, and actually 5. I have Sahara and Cherry Brandy. Now, some of these worked better than others. I found that my Prairie Sun really got eaten by the bugs right away, and the Cherokee Sunset I really liked, but they didn't get the tallest stem length, so I probably won't be growing as much of that next year. But overall, I really loved having the Rudbeckia. This area will be Rudbeckia next year, and I have a spot outside in my cottage garden planned, especially for some additional Rudbeckia too, and I will show you that. Okay, so I think we'll swing the camera this way first and go down this first pathway. So this first area of the garden is one of my dahlia patches, and this one definitely was the best producer out of the 2. I have another one at the other end of the garden. I think maybe it just didn't get quite enough sunlight, but for this small space, I harvested a lot of dahlias out of here. And as you can see, well, this one is almost ready to harvest. I have organza bags covering all of my blooms. This is to eliminate the bug pressure. I would say maybe mid-August it started where I would have bugs just starting to devour the petals of my dahlias, which obviously is not good when you're cutting them. So I put these organza bags, either the 6x9 or the 8x12 size. They're white, they're from Amazon, and this completely eliminated the problem. So it was a really easy fix. But this patch was just wonderful this year for blooms. I started getting blooms right in that August time frame, and then September really was the month for my dahlias. But I will definitely be planting more dahlias next year, and I will definitely be doing an upcoming garden plan for 2023, so watch for that too, because I'm always changing a little bit of the layout in the garden. But I think this will be dahlias again next year, along with some other spots. All right, let's just keep moving down this side of the garden. Okay, so this side of the garden is a little bit of a variety. In front of me, you can see I have a small patch of yarrow. Yarrow is pretty much done for the season, although I do have one really nice stem blooming right now, which I will probably clip today. This is my feverfew patch, and I have one really tall stem. The rest is just pretty much all foliage. It does look like it's pushing some new, taller growth. So since feverfew is a cool flower, it'll be interesting to see, especially since I'm a little sheltered in here, if my feverfew will withstand the frost that we're going to get later this week. I am not sure that this stem is far enough along to cut because not all the flowers are open, so I will probably leave it, and if it survives, I will cut it probably by the weekend. And then behind me, you can see my ageratum patch, which is looking amazing right now. I really enjoyed having the ageratum this year. This is the timeless mix as little accents in my bouquets, and so I definitely will be growing that again next year. Feverfew, I will also be growing that next year. This is the Magic Single variety. I also have seeds for the Snowball Feverfew, which is a little more poofy without so much of a yellow center. I'll be growing that variety as well. So that'll be really fun to have for the early season accents. All right, let's move back a little further. I want to show you my status. The status is looking a little slim in the moment. There is one big patch right here of maybe 7 or so stems. They might actually be coming all off the same plant that will be ready to open. And over here I see quite a few stems that are ready to open. So I don't know if the status will survive the frost or not. It depends how sheltered we are in this area, but it looks like maybe in about 5 days, I could have a lot of status to harvest. This was another one that I really like to grow again for next year. I tried it last year, just a few plants to see what it was like, because it's actually kind of a funny looking plant when you see it for the first time. And I really loved those little pops of color that it added in the bouquets. And so I grew a lot more this year, and I probably will be growing even more for next year. This year I grew one of the Johnny's mixes, and then I grew white and the apricot. Next year I may just grow the white, the blue, and the apricot, because those were the ones I tended to use the most. I got a few pinks. I had a hard time matching those with the bouquets, so I think I might just keep it simple next year and grow 3 colors and not a whole mix. All right, so we're looking at the north side of my greenhouse. This is one of the sad areas of my garden. Let me zoom in for you guys. This was one of my snapdragon patches, and as you can see, there is not much happening. It is pretty much done for the season. Now towards the front, this area, which is kind of filling in with weeds, this was some dianthus that I planted, which is pretty much dying back. I think it was the Sherbert variety. I found that they were just too small and spindly for me, so next year I'm going to be trying the Amazon dianthus instead. But snapdragons are always a favorite for me, and so I'll be growing them next year for sure. But I do have one other area of snapdragons that's looking a little better, so let me show you that right now. This is the other side of my greenhouse where my other patch of snapdragons is. Ignore all this. That is a huge weed that keeps coming up. But you can see I have quite a few blooms coming on for the snapdragons right now. Most of the snapdragons that are blooming right now are the Potomac series. That tends to be my favorite. I did grow the Costa apricot because I really like the colorings on it, but next year I will be primarily growing a variety of colors of the Potomac series. I just found that they rebloomed for me the best, and they also had the strongest stems for me. So as you can see, this area of the garden is pretty much harvested out. This is where I grew a couple succession plantings of sunflowers. There are still a few random ones in the back that are in bud stage, so I might get a couple more sunflowers. We'll see, but this has been a great spot to grow sunflowers over the last couple years. As you know, sunflowers can pretty much grow anywhere. They can take the heat, and with this being on the side of my metal building, it gets so hot right here. So this has been the ideal spot to grow sunflowers. They germinate fast, and they are just a really tough plant. This whole area itself is about 6 feet deep and 22 feet long. So not a huge space, but when you're planting them 4 to 5 inches apart, you can pack a lot of plants in an area like this. All right, let's swing over to my zinnia patch. So this is probably the area that I will be saddest to see the frost hit most. My zinnias are looking absolutely amazing right now. Despite the bug damage, I have been putting organza bags over top of some of these too. And honestly, the bugs are not as bad as they were a couple weeks ago when I originally started covering these, but it is just a sea of blooms in here. It is absolutely amazing. So I grow primarily the Bennery's giant zinnias, which are very large bloom size zinnias. They also tend to be powdery mildew resistant, which is great in our area because we have really hot and humid summers. I do also grow all of the colors from the Queen Lime series, just because I really like how they are so different with the colorings that they offer and the shading and the petals. But that is pretty much it for what I grow for zinnias. All the colors of the Benary's Giants and then the Queen Limes. And zinnias from August on are definitely a staple in all of my market bouquets. So I think I'm actually going to be growing even more next year. In this spot, this is about 13 feet wide, and then probably, I bet it's about 20 feet long, the area where I have my zinnias. I have 4 different beds of them. So I have quite a lot for my small size of garden, but you can always have more zinnias, right? Right. Okay, so I want to take you around on the other side of the garden, and then I will take you out to show you the cottage garden area. This area of the garden is also pretty much harvested out. You can see this light foliage in front here. That is Dusty Miller that I harvested out and used in my really big market that I just did. And then I'm going to zoom in up here at the end for you. This is a little patch of Dara that I planted mid-season. This I have been harvesting like crazy lately, and I will be planting this right away at the start of the season next year. I love the mix of the white flowers with the dark flowers. It has been awesome. In this area, I also have some astilbe planted. You can see I have some pumpkin on a stick right here. And if we pan down this way, this bed originally was all planted with bupleurum. So once I harvested the bupleurum out, I put the Dusty Miller in. So I probably will be doing the same thing next year, starting this area with bupleurum at the beginning of the season. Down at the end here, you can see my fall ranunculus looking awesome. These will definitely survive the frost. I will be putting frost cloth over these hoops, but I'm really hoping to get some blooms around Thanksgiving, so stay tuned for that. Here is a look from the other direction at that patch of snapdragons that has some beautiful blooms right now. I will also be sad to see these go. And then if we pan across the aisle, this is my yarrow patch. So yarrow did really, really well for me at the start of the season. A lot of these plants in the front here are second year plants. And oh, I see that this is forming some seed, which I will just kind of let it self-spread. Yarrow will spread, and it's also a cool flower, so it will start coming up really, really early in the season. In fact, some of these plants I may not have even fully cut down last year, and then underneath the snow there was green right away at the beginning of the season. So yarrow is an extremely tough plant in our area, and these were all seedlings that I planted in here this year, with the exception from the front here. These are second year plants, but all of the plants that are back in this area were first year plants. So I expect this whole area to completely kind of fill in and then just develop and get bigger throughout the years to pretty much where no weeds will poke through all this, which would be ideal. In the back, I do have a few stock plants that never flowered. I just let them go. I don't think that they are ever going to flower, but they're adding some nice greenery in back in the corner. And then you can see I have some hydrangeas behind me. They're the Incredible hydrangeas. I have the white and the blush. I do not use those for cutting. Those are purely to fill up that really shady corner and just give some beauty to that area of the garden. And then directly behind me is my raspberry patch, which is completely covered with raspberries right now. So I definitely need to be harvesting those this afternoon. So as we swing around through the garden, you can see my raspberries over here. Underneath here is a trellis that I have some mini pumpkins growing on. As you can see, powdery mildew has pretty much overtaken those, so those need to get ripped out very soon. And then over here, this is the gate that's kind of my hidden gate that I can go in and out of the garden with the wheelbarrow. And then if we swing around this way, I want to show you over in this corner my celosia patch. So my celosia patch color-wise is still looking really, really good. this gold, and I have the flamingo feather in the front, but most of these are starting to go to seed. So I probably will be saving some seed from some of these plants, but this will get ripped out really soon. There is not a lot left in here that I can use in bouquets, but I have been using celosia a lot lately, especially in that big market video that I did. You saw I use mainly the Selway series. I will definitely be growing a lot more of this next year. Okay, so the last little area in my garden, which is my favorite spot, is my pergola. My dad and I built this last year and redid my garden shed, and this has really made a huge difference on the looks of this area of the garden. There was already an existing cement pad down here, so I kind of just made it a little patio area. I have a potting bench over here, some potted flowers, which I'm not going to show you because they're pretty much dead at this point, but this is just a great little seating area in this cozy little corner of the garden. So anyway, I want to take you through the garden shed, and well, not through the garden shed. The garden shed is not meant for a tour right now. I just want to walk through the garden shed and take you out and just give you a glimpse of what is left of my cottage garden area, and then quickly show you what my pumpkin patch was. That is all harvested out, but if you have not seen my garden tour videos, it's just worth showing. So let me just take you out there really quick and show you those two spots. And I might share with you some plans that I have for that area for next year's development. Okay, so this is the outside of my fence, and this is a landscaping area that I have that I call my cottage garden area. I have a lot of different perennials in here, but I also plug some annuals in. Now in the front, one of the things I just want to show you in here, this is some Rebeckia that I planted this year, and this is supposed to be perennial Rebeckia. I'm not sure of the variety, and while it is beautiful, it is just not my favorite for a cut flower, and it doesn't have the stem length. So this is one of the areas that I'm going to be filling in with those other Rebeckia varieties that I really like. I also have a big patch of echinacea here. This, which is way far gone, but this is the cantaloupe variety of echinacea. I get so many comments and questions about this. I grew these from plants, and these are a really good early summer flower. As we pan up, sorry I'm not using my tripod, so maybe my camera work isn't the most amazing right now. This is some red spike amaranth that I used about a week and a half ago in that big market. It was absolutely awesome. And as we just kind of pan over, I have a few cosmos left. This is a type of celosia that I use for foliage. Definitely will be growing that next year. I purchased it from a garden center, so I apologize, I'm not familiar with the variety. I have some Russian sage in here, not for cutting, but great for pollinators. I have some marigolds. I grew cream and orange. I will grow the orange next year, not the cream again. And then as we pan over, this is my patch of gomphrena, which pretty much got demolished by my pumpkin vines, but it's actually making a comeback. And then speaking of pumpkins, here is my Titan squash tunnel, which I pulled hundreds of mini pumpkins off of this, you guys. It was so awesome. It looks really sad now because powdery mildew has overtaken it, but I literally got hundreds of pumpkins off of here. You can see there's one spaghetti squash hanging strong on the top. And then as we pan in here, this is all done for. There's Rebeckia, yarrow, daisies in here, some more celosia. And if I zoom in on the back, look at those pumpkins hanging off of my fence. The vines are so sad, but the pumpkins are almost ripe. So I am just letting them go. And then those are some raspberries peeking through. So this space, while it doesn't look glorious right now, it is a huge added space for my garden and gives me a lot of extra things to harvest, especially using this Titan squash tunnel. And if you walk through there, that goes to the entrance to the little secret gate that gets into my garden. How fun is that? Okay, I want to swing you over this way, and I want to take you to my pumpkin patch. Okay, so this whole area right here is my pumpkin patch. Now this building is the co-op next door, and there was an area of grass along the whole side of the co-op that was about 4 feet wide. It wasn't actually grass, it was all weeds. And so I put railroad ties up against here, which I know can have some chemicals, but we do not eat from anything in this area. I specifically made no dig beds here for pumpkins, and it is 96 feet long and 4 feet wide. And I pulled hundreds of small to medium-sized pumpkins out of this patch. So these vines actually still look pretty good. Some are taking on some powdery mildew, but I'm wondering if these are the varieties that are maybe a little bit more resistant. And there are still a lot of pumpkins in here that I probably should harvest before the frost hits. Honestly, I've had plenty of pumpkins now. And then down towards that area is not looking so awesome, but still hundreds of pumpkins. I did a pumpkin harvest video, so if you didn't see that, you'll want to check that out. Also in this area, I have 4 4x4 raised beds. The front 2 have been cleared out, but these 2 still have some mini sunflowers in them that have not bloomed yet. How cute are those? This was an experiment this year, and I have been using these in bouquets. So these again are just 4x4 raised beds. I made them right in my parking lot. I put cardboard down, garden soil, and they have just been some great added space. I actually think, if we back up a little bit, I'm actually thinking of adding maybe 4 more in this area. And then if we swing back this area where the rest of my pumpkins are, from here all the way to the alley is probably over 40 feet. I'm kind of thinking of putting a high tunnel in here. We'll see. But I have this huge parking lot that I do not use. This is all cement, so that is not usable, but why not use this area? I think it could be some great added space if the soil was made good enough. We'll see. All right, well, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing what the garden looks like at the end of the season. I think this definitely will be the last garden tour that I do for the season because, like I said, we are scheduled to get a frost for 2 different nights towards the end of the week. So I'm pretty sure that the garden will be done as of this week, but that's okay. I'm already looking forward to next year. So anyway, stay tuned for a lot more videos. I want to share with you guys some dry flowers that I've saved and all of my planning, some seed saving, dahlia tuber digging, I mean, all kinds of stuff left for this season and all of my plans for next year. So we'll see you soon.